Can we get some kind of plot rolling on? Before we get to today's video, I want to take a moment to talk about Patreon. That's right, we are on Patreon now, and we have a bunch of tiers with a bunch of great rewards. You can subscribe and get things like early access to all reactions, depending on your tier, depends on which reactions you get early access to. You can vote on polls exclusive to patrons that will help determine future reaction series and more. You will get to just have various choices in terms of like getting to choose future reactions I react to, getting to choose first impressions I check out, all kinds of different rewards, and possibly more coming in the future. We're still new at this. We're still figuring things out. It's a process. It's a process. But we have multiple tiers, so whatever you would be able to donate, if you're able and willing to donate, is appreciated. It helps me out, it helps the channel out, it helps us grow. It's going to help just, standardly. It's just something new to check out. Plus, if you like getting the reactions early, that's also a plus. But it is optional. If you're unable to do it, that's completely fine. All reactions will come to YouTube just a little bit later, a week later or so. So that all being said, thank you as always so much, and let's get on with today's video. And with that being said, hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to episodes 17 and 18 of Disenchantment. And this second half of the season has had some good stuff in it for sure, but my biggest issue is that it's felt like you had plot at the beginning. You closed that out for the time being. And then the rest of this second half of the season so far has been episodic. And I know it's still the first season. And this is clearly one of those shows that's kind of in the vein of something like Amphibia or The Owl House, where it's like it starts off more episodic, but starts building into bigger stories that like will converge by the end and everything. It definitely feels like that kind of show. But like after this, I think it's because they went so hard with the story stuff so quickly by having like, Dreamland turn to stone and Dagmar come in and everything. It's like it felt like it was like brought in so quickly that it felt like that was where the show was going to focus on. And even if the stuff with Dagmar specifically was, resolved or at least put on hold for the time, it still felt like there would be another big story to take its place. And so going back to the more episodic stuff at this point feels off. It feels weird. Because, in fact, I would even say it feels unnatural. Because of just the way they presented this prior. It just feels weird, But despite that, like, there's still been some really good stuff. And then there's been some stuff that I've just self-admittedly not been a fan of. Now, we have 4 more episodes left of this season. We have these 2 episodes, and then next week we're going to be doing the last 2 episodes of the season. And if you're wondering why we're doing 2 episoders, it's because I don't want to take too long. I don't want to waste too much time into getting to the replacement show for this. So, but I'll talk about that next time, I'm sure. I don't want to wait too long on that, so I'm making sure that we can get this wrapped up quicker. So yeah, that's the plan. Hopefully we'll be all good going forward. But I'm still curious to see how this season ends, because it's just I feel like they do need to bring back some level of story. They definitely need to bring back some like actual plot. And I don't expect it to happen in these 2 episodes. Like I'm expecting like the last 2 episodes to bring that back into play. But I'm hoping that we at least get the start of things. And again, I know that there's technically been like an ongoing narrative about the elves moving into dreamland and everything, and there's the setup with the one elf guy. I can't remember his name right now. Levo? Was it Levo? Might have been Levo. Um, but wanting to steal like what's under the castle and everything. So it's like there is setup, there is a certain narrative, but like each episode has still been its own thing, and there's been no like connecting tissue to these episodes outside of just the elves being in dreamland now. Otherwise, it's not actually progressed any plot. It's just it's just a new status quo. They introduced a new status quo and that's it. There's no actual new plot. And honestly, the elf stuff has just not been that interesting to me. Maybe that's just me, but it's like I feel like the elf stuff with this series, specifically how they're portrayed in this series, is much better in small doses. Trying to make it into like a big change to the status quo like this, I feel actually hurts it because I don't feel like they can carry too much by themselves, like as a focus. Like I even honestly question that with Elfo. Like Elfo is one of the like main characters, and I don't even think he would be able to carry a full episode on his own. Which I don't remember if we got that in the first half of the season, but maybe. Um, but yeah, I don't think I just don't see it. I also don't see Lucy pulling off an episode on his own either, to be fair. But honestly, I see Lucy being able to do it a lot quicker than Elfo. Elfo is great as a supporting cast member, as being one of Bean's friends and allies. He's great with that. But I don't see him or any of the elves like having a bigger role than something like that. And so like again, having all the elves suddenly like enter Dreamland and become like kind of a focal point in the second half of the season, it hasn't been working for me for the most part. And it's like, I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but I mean, there's also the thing about Elfo's mom that hasn't been resolved yet. The ogre. It's like that was like suddenly introduced to us, and we don't have anything for that. Probably won't get resolution for that until next season, I would wager. I don't know. I don't know at this point. I guess the only thing we really have to try and do here is just figure it out, pretty much. Just check out these episodes, see what we have in store, and hope for the best. So let's get into it. Hold up just a sec. Before you click that link down in the description below to get to today's video, I want to remind you of all the awesome content we have both on this channel and the Princess of Gaming channel. Let's check it out. Welcome to the Afterthoughts. We'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, Um, these were two very good episodes. Probably two of the better ones in this half of the season. And we have actually started to, in this second one, episode 18, have started to touch on kind of more main plot stuff again. But both of these episodes are good for actually the reason of character development and growth, which I've made clear on the channel plenty of times before. That is one of the things that I take into matter the most when it comes to pretty much any piece of media, whether it be movies, shows, video games, books, anything. Story and characters are, in my opinion, the most important part of any piece of media. Outside of maybe like something like a party game or something like that. But here we have two episodes that I feel were pretty greatly needed. Episode 17 focuses a lot on Derek. Derek has been not much of a character. He's kind of been a bit of a punching bag throughout the series, and has just been there to be, Una's son. Una and Zog's son. That's pretty much his entire role. He's goofy, he's kind of dumb, he's a little pathetic, and that's all he ever was. But this episode actually focuses on him, showing that he's a kid. Let's be honest here. He's a kid and he wants friends. He wants to hang out with his sister. He wants to just belong and find, some sense of just a sense of fitting in. And so he ends up making friends with this octopus named Slimy, well, that he calls Slimy. But eventually, because Slimy sees him have a fake fight with Elfo, a pretend fight with Elfo, and get fake defeated, Slimy gets vengeful. And upon growing to pretty massive size, attacks the castle, kills this king from a neighboring kingdom. I'm trying to think of the name right now. Isn't it's Merkimer's kingdom, right? Like, this is the new king that like replaced Merkimer or whatever. It's just escaping me. It is completely escaping me. And they said it multiple times in both of these episodes, so I don't know why it's escaping me, but yeah, either way, the king is killed, and basically Bean and the crew have to end up saving Derek after he's taken. There's also the side plot about like King Zog trying to get gout with Lucy's help, which succeeds. Apparently he is able to recover from it, though. He's doing it because he's told about it by the other king, and he's just like he's jealous that he doesn't have it. So yeah, it's dumb. It's a dumb B plot, but the A plot is much more interesting, and I feel like, and this is a problem with a lot of shows, with a lot of modern television, I guess. But I feel like it's an issue when one of the plots of an episode just feels completely needless, and the other plot like feels like it would be even better if it had the time that the B plot is taking away. The problem is, I feel like I feel like these shows have these A plots and B plots because they're like trying to like make sure all these different characters still get their time to shine. King Zog is obviously like a main character to a degree. And so they want to make sure that he still has like something to do during this episode. But I just feel like this episode would have been better if it were just the one plot line. I feel like trying to involve a B plot just didn't quite work. It's not like with like the first episode or two of this season, or this half of the season, where you had the B plot of Zog going around Dreamland while everyone was still turned to stone and like being just really miserable and everything. Like that worked because that was like in line with the main story, and it felt like an active, almost repercussion of his actions and the way he like treated people and stuff. And so it was a reasonable and honestly needed B plot. But here it's like, I don't it was just there for comedy. It didn't really add anything. And honestly, it just took away from, again, what was more interesting in every way. I feel like the A plot would have been a lot stronger had it had more time to develop Derek and Slimy's I almost said romance. That's weird. Develop their relationship a little more. If it had time to develop that and really like showcase that, like maybe those 4 days, even just through a montage, um, I think it would have been a lot better. But the fact that it did still develop Derek and give him a little more depth and intrigue, as well as show that Bean does care about him, even if she's, even if she has older sibling syndrome. It's still a really good episode that gives some much needed depth to a character we really haven't had much depth for. And it's not like a huge amount. It's not like the most depth. It's not the most added intrigue or character, but it's something. And it's progress, right? Episode 18, however, was much more plot relevant and focused. Bean is still having these nightmares of Dagmar. Apparently, because this is Dreamland, according to Zog, that enhances dreams and can make nightmares worse and stuff. So Bean goes off to try and figure out like a way to deal with her feelings and everything that's kind of the cause of her nightmares. And she eventually is led into this cafe kind of speakeasy place that is serving coffee, which is, I guess, new to Dreamland. And she's inspired to end up becoming a writer by the worker there. I don't know if the person was, I don't know if she was like the person who owned the cafe or if she was just, an employee, but either way, she inspires Bean to become a writer. Bean gets help from Lucy, and she ends up writing a play. After trying a couple other things, she ends up writing a play chronicling her feelings towards the entire situation with her parents, and most notably, her mother. However, when she tries to submit the play at the theater, she's turned away because sexism. And this absolutely was a thing back in like the old days. Like it was bad to a point where even female roles were played by men, which is actually shown in here. The original Dagmar actor was a guy. Like they made a point of saying that. Theater was like it was just a case of sexism, just like with most other things. Women were seen as lesser and were seen as like not like able or worthy to be not just playwrights, but really anything. And so it was just this terrible circumstance that this series expressed. And we see that Merkimer actually gets the play published. However, he has to do it under his name and everything because he's a guy. Even if he's a pig, it doesn't matter. And the play gets published and they're able to put it on, but then we find out actually even he doesn't get to keep the rights to it. The theater owners end up taking the rights to it and claiming it as their own. I like Zog going to the play. At first I was thinking that Zog was going to like see the play and something was going to clue him in that Bean wrote it and he was going to start realizing some shit. But instead, he actually ends up leaving after threatening to behead everyone, and that almost actually goes through. And overhears Bean doing a spoken word rant at the cafe. And he actually is clearly proud of her, like genuinely. Hearing her like speak and hearing her like air out her feelings, and they get to talk, and there's actually some progress made, not only just continued progress with their relationship, but we see that like Bean is finding something that she can get into in a way to let out her emotions in a healthy manner. Zog, meanwhile, is listening. He's hearing Bean, which is important because it's Zog. So the fact that he's getting to like not only listen to her in terms of like on stage talent, but getting to listen to her air out these kind of feelings that honestly both of them have been going through, it's important. And the fact that he is like listening is important because that feels almost unzog like, you know. Yeah, I really enjoyed just the amount of depth they're adding to that, and even just little things like complaining about having to like walk all the way uphill just to get back to their castle and everything. It's like at the end you see that Zog agrees with that entire sentiment and you see them bonding over it. And it's like that's kind of cute. It's kind of like really nice to see them bonding over that. And I'm very very interested to see how they continue to push this. And like this didn't like progress the main story like too much. It was more about like how the characters are still feeling about everything. But that's important too. Like they've gone through some heavy trauma, let's be honest. Zog has been just trying to like get rid of every mention, every thought, every piece of iconography related to Dagmar. And Bean is just, you know, struggling constantly to deal with even having these emotions. And so it's good to see them like figure things out to at least some degree with each other. Because I think that's what they should have done the entire time. Like actually just talk to each other about it. But we know Zog isn't always the best at that. Especially in terms of the listening part, as I've said. So I'm glad that we're making progress on that. And hopefully the next two episodes continue to go in that direction. Because there's just a lot of really good stuff that this could lead to. Whew. Excuse me. Sorry about that. A lot of really good stuff this could lead to. But I just really enjoyed these ones. And I'm excited to see what ends up coming next. We have 2 more episodes for this season, so for the meantime, thank you so much for tuning in. And I will see you all next time when we get to the finale, the final 2. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all then.